Hi, this is George Strompolos. I'm the CEO and founder of Fullscreen. You're watching Behind the Brand.
Behind the Brand features the people who are making things happen. Get the insight to grow your biz from experts who've done it. Get behind the brand.
Hi, I'm Brian Elliott. Welcome to another edition of Behind the Brand. Today I'm here with founder and CEO of Fullscreen, George Strompolos. George, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here.
George, how'd you get this job?
Well, I was a former executive at YouTube. I was working there for about 5.5 years, helping to nurture and grow the next generation of video creators. And I saw an opportunity to start a media company that did exactly that. We wanted to develop the next wave of talent, and we were really passionate about the space. And so I just branched off and left Google, who owns YouTube, and got started on my own.
So for those who, people watch the show, they're entrepreneurs, they're content creators. Help understand, because Fullscreen's a multi-channel network, right?
Yes, that's right.
What is a multi-channel network?
So a multi-channel network, the best way to describe it is think of television. So you have networks like NBC. They don't just have the channel NBC, but they also have Bravo and E and Style and G4. Video is moving to the internet. And on the internet, there's an infinite number of channels. So we're a network of channels on the internet, but instead of having a few channels, we have thousands of them.
And what's the business model? How do you make money?
So we make money primarily by supporting creators. We provide them with tools and services to grow their channels, to make more money. And we do that for a portion of the advertising revenue and whatever other revenue we're able to generate.
So you have a lot of a little, which adds up to a lot, right? What types of content are you looking out for, and how do you find these people?
Well, we've focused our efforts around what we call the connected generation.
Yeah.
These are young people that have grown up in a world where there's only been internet, and they are married to their cell phones. And tends to be a demographic that's about 13 to 25 years old. And we're focused on really super serving that niche.
Talk to us about how important collaboration is. So Fullscreen, someone with a very successful channel can work with someone else over here. How does it work?
So it's all about audience building, right? I may have a channel with about 100,000 subscribers. You may have one with about 110,000 subscribers. We may have some audience overlap, but for the most part, chances are we have different fans, right? And so when we come together and make a video, we're going to share our audience, right? And so there's a mutual incentive to want to do that.
So how important is collaboration with brands? Are you seeing more brand integration opportunities?
It's a big deal. One thing that a lot of people ask is, when the creators start to work with brands, are they going to be seen as selling out?
Yeah.
And in this space, your creator, you're starting from one viewer. You're going to 2 and 3 and then 10 and then 1,000. And your fans are the ones making that possible, right? So they usually see you working with a brand as a sign of success. And as long as you do it in a way that respects them and is true to your creative nature, then that becomes something that people really value.
So are you looking for channels with an existing social proof and an existing audience, or are you looking for up-and-comers? What's the criteria?
There's a little bit of both. We sort of divide that into 3 worlds. We receive about 2,500 applications per day for people around the world who want to be part of the Fullscreen network.
Yeah. So it's a selection process.
Well, it certainly is, yes.
Yeah.
They don't all get in, right? But that's sort of our automated self-serve model. And those creators are coming, they're accessing our products, they're part of our community. As you start to get into the larger and larger creators with a larger social footprint, at the top end of that, it's an entertainment business. You're negotiating with agents and lawyers and managers, and it's not too different than maybe what the big studios do.
So how are you dealing with that kind of the land grab that's going on right now between MCNs, agencies like CAA, William Morris, UTA, who are becoming little media companies or production companies or incubators, studios who want in? I mean, there's a lot of exciting things happening in your space right now with, the maker deals and all the other deals that are happening. Are you excited about that, and how are you dealing with it?
So, in terms of all the players in the space, we kind of always just go back to our mission, which is to empower the creator. And we wanted to build our company not around a platform on YouTube, which is an important platform to us, but around the creator. And we know that over time, as the creators grow in influence and value and popularity and revenue, that more and more opportunities would exist around that creator. So we just kind of always go back to that, and we think we're the best at that.
So it's about people then.
It really is, yeah. You know,
And not even it's interesting you didn't say content.
right.
You focus on the people.
Yes, you know, the creators are the brands of the future, right? You know, when you look at what kids go home and watch, first of all, they typically are firing up an iPad or a phone, and they're watching talent, right? And they watch talent because they feel like they can connect with the talent, and that's a real connection. We're here at VidCon right now, and people are following around their heroes. These are their heroes, right?
People that out there have no idea who they are.
Exactly.
It's very narrow niche and
It's the new rock star, basically. In the same way that maybe in the 80s or the 90s, MTV really captured the youth, that's happening right now online, and Fullscreen's proud to be one of the front-running companies making that possible.
So what's your take on long form versus short form?
Well, going back to our audience, which is a younger demographic, we've actually done some polling of them, and they consider anything over 5 minutes premium content. So and they
5
consider
minutes.
and so my view is that, you know, we know the analytics and we know the data. Typically, when you want videos to be shared, you're usually wanting to be in the 90-second to 120-second sweet spot, because people feel like they're not burdening someone else by sharing that, right? But ultimately, people still do like story. They like depth of character. They like you know, a richness to something, and so going long form into 5 minutes plus is certainly something we do.
Can you develop a character in 5 minutes? Can you?
I think so, you know, maybe not necessarily in one instance, but in multiple short instances you certainly can. And you see different takes of a character. I often liken it to, you ever seen those Far Side calendars? You peel one off every day, right? And over time you start to understand the humor and the world of the Far Side, right? I think of, you know, someone who's successful in short form. They may not like really build a world in one video, but over time they're collectively building a persona and sort of intellectual property is really what they're doing.
What would you say to the Hollywood crowd that's still very apprehensive about creating content specifically for YouTube, right? Because some are just repurposing old stuff, or, you know, just trying to get more mileage out of it, putting it on YouTube or a platform that's easily shareable, whatever, Facebook. What would you say to the Hollywood crowd that's so resistant that says, you know, our stuff is premium, you know, the real premium, and it doesn't belong in that space?
I think there's a number of factors. The first one is the dollars are still pretty small on a per view basis online.
Why do you think that is?
You have a supply and demand challenge, right? So over the past 9-10 years, what's happened is the supply of creators has massively exploded, right? There's no more gatekeepers, right? If you want to start a show, you start a show, right? And that's a good thing. But at the same time, the demand, which is primarily coming from the ad community, the number of advertisers is still about the same, right? So explosion in supply on creators and content, but the demand hasn't really changed as much, right? Now, luckily, more dollars are shifting into digital media, and that's good for Fullscreen, that's good for our talent. But overall, I think, you know, if you're looking at the online space and you're used to a world where you're producing things that cost millions of dollars per episode, and you need to sell at extremely high CPMs and create a scarcity, which is what Hollywood does ultimately. You look at online and you say, that doesn't really work for our model, right? As you know, with Fullscreen, it tends to be, you know, today, many creators, the dollars are smaller, but in mass it becomes quite powerful.
Who's some of the standout Fullscreeners?
You know, I have to always point to Devin Supertramp. He's one of the best filmmakers and action sports type guys.
I'm a big fan of Devin.
He's great. And you know, we recently signed a deal with Grace Helbig. She's, I liken her to like the next Ellen DeGeneres, or maybe Tina Fey.
She's hilarious.
She's a wonderful personality. Yeah, exactly. She calls herself your awkward older sister. And then the Fine Brothers are one of our biggest stars. They're kind of known as the format masters of YouTube. They've I consider them like the Warner Brothers of YouTube or something like that. And they're great. We have a lot of great talent. I'm a big fan of Lohanthony and O2L. They're probably the ones generating all the screams around here. And so it's, you know, when you have so many creators, it's hard to pick favorites.
What's a genre that you think is maybe still untapped? You know, we've seen a lot happen with fashion and makeup. We've seen, you know, music explode. We've seen lots of different categories. What's maybe something you think you're predicting a little bit?
That's a good question, genre-wise. I'd have to go with sports, because typically most people, when it comes to sports, they don't have the rights to the NFL or the NBA. They can't do anything. Right? But I think, and because of that, there's sort of an empty gap in sports programming online. It's either ESPN or nothing. Right? And I have to look at groups like Dude Perfect who are doing sports content. They're blowing up, and so I think there's room for a lot more in that category.
What advice would you give to a new creator, someone who's thinking about creating a channel? What advice would you give them to start now? I mean, is now the best time or the worst time to start something?
There's a great proverb. It says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today, right? And so I think what I would do is spend a lot of time watching a lot of videos first, right? See what people are doing, study the formats, see what works, see why people are engaging, see where the gaps are. And then most importantly, when you start, just try to be different.
I mean, is there really a formula? If success is all about subscriptions and views, is it something you can really dial in a frequency and get it going?
It's art and science, right?
It's art, right?
Yeah, there's a playbook, and you can follow the playbook. Fullscreen is constantly educating our creators on best practices, and that stuff's really valuable. But at the end of the day, if you don't break through with good creative, you don't break through.
Let's talk a little bit about acquisition. So I'm sure you're thinking about it. Where are you guys headed?
So when we started Fullscreen, we said we wanted to create the Viacom of the internet, and that's what we feel like we're doing.
So you're a media company.
We're a media company.
Because MCN is not a media company, right?
It depends, right? MCN's become this blanket term, and who knows what it means. To me, a media company is in the business of monetizing consumer attention, right? And that's what we do. We generate consumer attention through developing talent and leveraging online platforms, and we monetize it by selling and forming partnerships. So we are a media company, and the goal was never to sell to another media company. The goal was to become that next great media company, and so that's our outlook.
So you carry a lot of weight. A lot of people depend on you. You're thinking about a lot, I'm sure, right now. Like, what are you afraid of? Like, what keeps you up at night? What are you thinking about?
I wouldn't say I'm afraid of this, but it's something that does keep me up at night. I constantly want to create the best culture for people to work at, because at the end of the day, companies are only as strong as their people. And we have a great energy at Fullscreen. It's a great place to work if you're passionate about video and YouTube and talent and content. But I want to make sure that every day people show up to work at Fullscreen, that they're proud of that, and they believe in our mission. And so far that's going really well, but it's something that's always on my mind.
Have you made any missteps with people, or why are you focused on that? I understand you're focused on people to nurture a great culture, but
yeah,
and I only ask about missteps because a lot of people won't even take that first step because they're afraid to fail.
Yeah.
And the F word is this great obstacle sometimes that paralyzes us.
Yeah. It can be paralyzing, right? There's a million reasons why something won't work. All you have to do is.
Where have you gone wrong? What's happened?
We started, once we got traction as a business, which was about 1 year into the business, we really started to hit. We had to hire people like rapid fire.
After 1 year.
Yeah, not a terrible thing, no complaints.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah. And what we did is I felt like there was a moment where we were hiring literally everyone who walked in the door.
Yeah.
Right? And luckily we found some tremendous people. But hiring is so important. You got to get the right people, and our CFO actually does a great exercise. He forces us to look at our org chart as a series of boxes, not names. So we create the boxes first, so we know the roles, and then we put the names in, right? So we make sure we have the right people in the right roles, and that matters.
What's the criteria for that then? The right people.
Well, it's a good question.
Is it like background in this, or is it completely like they used to be, in a rock band, or they were a race car driver, or?
I look for people that are entrepreneurial in nature. That's actually probably my most important attribute in people.
So?
because they're self-starters, they try, they take risks, they're not afraid. Maybe they've failed before, they know what that feels like. What's that?
They're hungry.
They're hungry, and they're creative. You know, entrepreneurs are creative by nature, and so that's one of the things I try to sniff out when we interview people. I really value if someone runs a jewelry business, or was the president of their fraternity, or whatever it may be. Like, those kind of things really stand out to me.
Are entrepreneurs born, or is it something that we learn?
I think you learn it, personally. I think so. For myself, I was taught by my dad. My dad's a restaurant owner. He's always been his own boss, and he works extremely hard, and he kind of creates his own destiny, and I've always looked up to that. So I think in my case, it was definitely taught.
We've been spending a few minutes with CEO and founder of Fullscreen, George Strompolos. George, thanks for being on the show.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Behind the Brand features the people who are making things happen. Get the insight to grow your biz from experts who've done it. Get behind the brand.
Lean in.
I lean in.
Bang.
All right, that's the answer.
And I cover your body. And I call for help. And they were like, "Where's Keckner?" I'm like, "I don't know. I didn't see him."